What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name's Dan Tai, and today we're going to be talking about 7 crazy things I learned from Block 1. So, how was Block 1? Super fast paced, super condensed. It was confusing. I had to figure out how to study again. It was very, very busy. I'll stick with guitar. What if we added Chick-fil-A sauce to breakfast? So, how's Block 2? I gotta go to the gym. You can't film in the gym. I gotta do some EKGs.
So then just right here's good.
So just because like it might show that you have a heart rate right here, it doesn't mean that you have a pulse. PQRST. The heart rate in a minute, right?
Right, but the heart rate, see these numbers, these values up here, this machine is giving us these values. You're saying if we didn't have this machine, we would have to calculate.
Yeah, or you could, yeah, like,
But these numbers are valid though, right? Okay.
test, it doesn't show that.
So if you look right here, this is the schedule I've been trying to do. So, you know, you try to have time to go to the gym, to read, to eat breakfast and all that stuff. And I think doing this allows me to be more focused on studying. I then map out the times that I play guitar, map out the times that I brush my teeth, map out the times of social media. I spend way too much time on social media, especially during quarantine. And this block, I wanted to make sure that I prioritize my time. You know, last block, maybe I played too much Minecraft, or I was scrolling through Instagram too much. But you know, like, reading a book is really nice. And so I just, you know, gotta devote time to you know, not go on social media so much. But yeah, that's about it. All right, let's talk about some medical stuff. All right, number 1. Neutrophil nets. There's Spider-Man. Okay, we're in an alternate universe. His name is Phil Parker. Neutrophil, to be exact. And Phil, you know, he needs a bad guy. So we got Mike. Okay, Mike Roby. Okay, see they play on words. Mike Roby sounds like microbe. You know, get it? Okay. So Spider-Man, his spidey senses go off, and he says, "I sense chemokines." Right. So Phil, you know, he goes ahead and finds Mike. He injects his web fluid. And then he proceeds to eat Mike. The end. Happy Halloween. Alright, next. Grapefruit juice. So, if you ever have high cholesterol, you're prescribed this medication called atorvastatin, and pharmacists will tell you not to take it with grapefruit. And you're like, why? Why can't I eat my grapefruit? And that's because grapefruit has an enzyme that slows down cytochrome 384, which is one of the main metabolizers in our body. So it metabolizes the drug, but if you eat it with grapefruit, you know, you have this enzyme that slows down 384, and as a result, you have more atorvastatin building up, accumulating in your body, and that's dangerous. Red wine has these things called sirtuins, and they're basically HDACs, which stand for histone deacetylases, right? So you have this thing called HAT, histone acetylase, which basically binds to the histones, which are proteins that lock up your DNA. Okay, they tighten it up so that, you know, you can't really transcribe it and make it into proteins. So histone acetylase, you know, it binds, it opens up the histones, allows for gene transcription and protein synthesis. You know, and if you have cancer cells take advantage of this process of HAT and making oncogenes, which basically make crazy proteins, and then as a result, you have crazy cell proliferation. All right, so sirtuin is an HDAC, deacetylase, so it actually reverses this process. It down-regulates the oncogenes. So one of the things about intrauterine devices is they're best used during the day 5 of the initial pregnancy. Day 5, initial pregnancy, it prevents the binding of your zygote. Okay, so your zygote becomes this thing called the embryoblast, which basically, it proliferates into 16 cells from one cell, and then it changes a bit of its structure, and then now it's about to bind to the uterine wall. So what it does initially is, with all the enzymes in the female body during pregnancy, they express this thing called L-selectin, okay, on the uterine wall. So the embryoblasts, they bind to these things called L-selectin. However, these contraception methods, they prevent attachment. So these intrauterine devices are best used during day 5 because these contraception methods, they prevent attachment. So if you don't have an attachment, then you don't have embryo development because the embryo can't get nutrients from the mother's blood. Aspirin. Aspirin is a blood thinning medication because it binds to this thing called cyclooxygenase, okay? Cyclooxygenase controls the development of prostaglandins, which are important for fever, pain, platelets, right? And so aspirin, it affects the platelets and therefore it makes your blood thinner. So that's why, during surgery, people say don't take aspirin because if you take aspirin, you're gonna, bleed out. So aspirin is irreversible, however, okay? So it affects your platelets, it thins your blood, and you need to regenerate this platelet, and you only make and a typical red blood cell would only live for 120 days. So after that, you would have to, make new platelets, okay? So phenobarbital overdose, okay? So phenobarbital is a weak acid, and when you get an overdose of this, providers will prescribe bicarbonate. Okay, so bicarbonate is given so that the phenobarbital remains in a charged state in the blood, and this would aid in excretion. So people are like, why? Why does that make sense? Okay, increases the pH of the urine, maintains the bicarbonate in a charged state. Okay, and if you remember, the walls of anything. Okay, phospholipids. You have oxygen that goes to phospholipids, CO2. The reason why is because they're non-polar. Okay, so if you have something polar, something charged, it's not going to go through the membrane, right? So bicarbonate makes it charged and allows for increased elimination and decreased reabsorption into the body. ADME, A-D-M-E. So when physicians work with drugs, they use this acronym called ADME. So ADME stands for absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. So how is it absorbed? How is the drug absorbed? How is it distributed in the body? How is it metabolized? So are you a fast metabolizer? Are you a slow metabolizer? Do you need to metabolize the drug in the first place? Is it active drug? Is it a proactive drug? Do you need to break it down? How is it excreted so it doesn't stay in the body and become toxic? And we talked about this, earlier with atorvastatin, grapefruit juice, that would have a toxic effect if it were to stay in the body. That's the end of my video. 7 crazy things I learned from block 1. Yep. We got diamond barf water, crystal geyser.
I'm sick
of
daydreaming. I just want the feeling of you in my
right here,
head.
it went through 4 times.
I'm down to just waste time right below your waistline. Want you by my head. I'm down to FaceTime. It's a long time, baby. You're always running in my mind. I'm sick of daydreaming. I just want the feeling.
I think diamond bar one is slightly sweet, but also plasticky.
Can't spend time
for the more expensive one.
Give you my hoodie just so you can
Tastes like water.
smell my
Plain.
tongue.
No plasticky.
Don't like all this distance. I want you closer, missing your existence.